We are just 2 months into 2025, and already 28 out of the 69 Dividend Aristocrats have already announced a dividend increase. Some of these dividend increases are very good, some are average, and some are pretty pitiful. Let's take a quick look at all of them. The best dividend increase thus far comes from Aflac, that increased its dividend by 16%. It is a pretty phenomenal increase, although it's a little bit lower than the 19.05% increase Aflac delivered in 2024. Coming in at number 2 is Walmart with a 13.25% dividend increase, which is better than the increase Walmart provided in 2024, which was 9.21%. Number 3 is Sherwin-Williams with a 10.49% increase, which is much lower than the 18.18% increase we saw from Sherwin in 2024. Number 4 is Fastenal with a 10.26% increase, which is marginally lower than their 2024 increase of 11.43%. Number 5 is NextEra Energy with a 10% dividend increase, which is just slightly lower than their 2024 increase of 10.16%. Number 6 is Roper Technologies, also with a 10% increase, which is slightly better than their 2024 increase of 9.89%. Number 7 is Pentair with an 8.7% increase, which was much better than its 2024 increase of just 4.55%. Number 8 is Linde plc with a 7.91% increase. That is marginally lower than the 2024 increase of 9.02%. Number 9 is Cincinnati Financial with a 7.41% increase. That is lower than the 2024 increase of 8%. Number 10 is Abbott Labs with a 7.27% increase. That is a little bit lower than the 2024 increase of 7.84%. Number 11 is Erie Indemnity with a 7.06% increase. And since Erie is the new Dividend Aristocrat this year, I don't have their increase from last year in my tracker. Number 12 is AbbVie with a 5.81% increase. That is better than their 4.73% increase from last year. Number 13 is General Dynamics with a 5.63% increase. That increase is going into effect in Q2 of this year. And looking at the year-over-year increase, we're looking at 6.09% in 2025, which is marginally lower than the 2024 increase of 6.9%. Number 14 is S&P Global with a 5.49% increase. That is much better than the 1.11% dividend increase we saw from them last year. Number 15 is Eversource Energy with a 5.24% increase. Eversource is also a new Dividend Aristocrat this year, so we don't have their 2024 increase. Number 16 is Coca-Cola with a 5.15% increase. That is marginally below the 2024 increase of 5.43%. Number 17 is Chevron with a 4.91% increase. That is much lower than the 7.95% increase we saw from the company last year. Number 18 is Essex Property Trust with a 4.9% increase. That is also lower than the increase from last year at 6.06%. Number 19 is Church & Dwight with a 3.95% increase. That is marginally below the 2024 increase of 4.15%. Number 20 is Kimberly-Clark Corporation with a 3.28% increase. That is again marginally lower than the 2024 increase of 3.39%. Number 21 is Franklin Resources with a 3.23% increase. That is better than the 2024 increase of 2.48%. Number 22 is Genuine Parts Company with a 3% increase. That is lower than the 5.26% increase from this company last year. Number 23 is Hormel with a 2.65% increase. That is just slightly lower than the 2.73% increase from last year. Number 24 is T. Rowe Price Group with a 2.42% increase. That is better than the 1.64% increase from last year. Number 25 is Consolidated Edison with a 2.41% increase. That is pretty much in line with the 2.47% increase we saw last year. Number 26 is Archer Daniels Midland with a 2% increase. That is much lower than the 11.11% increase we saw last year. Number 27 is Realty Income with a 1.52% increase, and a current 2025 projected increase of 1.64%. That is lower than the 2.4% we saw last year. Realty Income increases its dividend rate every quarter, so they're just getting started for this year, and have plenty of time to catch up with the 2024 increase. And number 28 is Air Products and Chemicals with a 1.13% increase, which translates to a 0.85% annual increase in 2025. That is lower than the 2024 increase of 1.14%. Excluding the 2 new Dividend Aristocrats this year, the dividend increases are coming in at 6.07% on average, compared to an average increase of 6.78% last year. So even with some of these nice dividend increases, it appears that the Dividend Aristocrats are slowing down their dividend growth rate. If we look at all 69 Dividend Aristocrats, their average projected dividend increase for 2025 currently stands at 4.11%. We're still waiting to see 41 more dividend increases, and hopefully we'll see some very nice ones, and potentially see the Dividend Aristocrats pick up their dividend growth rate compared to last year. In 2024, the average dividend growth rate for all of the Aristocrats was 5.78%. And if we look at the last decade, we can see that the average dividend growth rate has actually been cooling off for the Aristocrats pretty progressively, from a pretty solid double-digit dividend growth rate back in 2014 and 2015, down to 8, 7, 6, and 5% last year. But the dividend growth rate is just one aspect of investing. So let's take a quick look at how the Aristocrats are performing in terms of total return in 2025. Year to date through March 7th, the S&P 500, as measured by the ETF SPY, is down 1.73%. On average, all 69 Dividend Aristocrats are up 5.36%. So far, they're doing much better than the average market return. Let's highlight some of the best performers. And here we can see both AbbVie and Abbott Labs are up over 21% this year. Amcor is up 10.76%. Air Products and Chemicals is up 9.76%. Atmos Energy up 7.32%. Brown & Brown up 16.46%. Cintas up 11.36%. Chevron up 9.14%. Ecolab up nearly 15%. Consolidated Edison up over 17%. And 8.74% from IRA Indemnity. Eversource Energy up 6%. Essex Property Trust up 6%. Expeditors International up over 14%. Fastnell up nearly 12%. Genuine Parts Company just shy of a 10% return. International Business Machines up nearly 20%. Johnson & Johnson up over 16%. Kimberly-Clark up 11.5%. Coca-Cola up over 14%. Kenvue up over 10%. Linde plc just shy of a 12% return. McDonald's up almost 11.5%. Medtronic 18.3%. Nucor Corporation 14.57%. Realty Income up 10%. Roper Technologies up 13.36%. Stanley Black & Decker up 11.9%. Some very strong performances from a lot of these Dividend Aristocrats. I'm sorry, the average return for all of the Aristocrats in 2025 is 4.75%. I was missing the last three down here. Walmart, West Pharma, and Exxon. But even this 4.75% return is much better than what the S&P is delivering this year. Of course, we have a bunch of Dividend Aristocrats that are doing much worse than the S&P, like West Pharma, for example, that is down 29%. Tiro is down almost 11%. Target is down 14%. Pentair is down 12%. Federal Realty Trust is down over 8%, and so is FactSet Data Research. Clorox is down 6.25%. And Albemarle, that is down over 12% this year. But of course, all of these year-to-date returns have already happened, and we can't go back and invest in any of these stocks. So the more important question is, how attractively valued are the Dividend Aristocrats today, and which ones are the more promising opportunities? As you can see here in my Dividend Yield Theory tool, there are still a handful of Dividend Aristocrats that are undervalued at the moment. In total, 28 Dividend Aristocrats have a forward dividend yield that is higher than the trailing 5-year average dividend yield, which based on dividend yield theory implies that these stocks may be potentially undervalued. Some of the potential discounts are Archer Daniels Midland, that looks about 33% undervalued with a current dividend yield of 4.13%. Albemarle, that looks 46% undervalued with a current dividend yield of 2.15%. Brown-Forman, that looks about 46% undervalued with a current dividend yield of 2.46%. Franklin Resources, that looks about 25% undervalued with a current dividend yield of 6.3%. Eversource Energy, that looks about 28% undervalued with a dividend yield of nearly 5%. Hormel, that looks about 33% undervalued with a dividend yield of 3.87%. Nordson, that looks about 28% undervalued with a dividend yield of 1.45%. NextEra Energy, that looks about 22% undervalued with a dividend yield of 3.12%. PPG Industries, that looks about 22% undervalued with a dividend yield of 2.36%. Stanley Black & Decker, that looks about 23% undervalued with a dividend yield of 3.69%. Target, that looks nearly 38% undervalued with a dividend yield of 3.89%. T. Rowe Price Group, that looks about 28% undervalued with a dividend yield just over 5%. And lastly, West Pharma that looks about 34% undervalued with a dividend yield of just 0.36%. Of course, undervaluation is just one aspect of investing. And just because a stock is undervalued does not imply that it's going to generate a healthy return going forward. If we further filter this list by the estimated rate of return in my model for Dividend Aristocrats that have an estimated return above 10%, we get the following 17 Dividend Aristocrats. Archer Daniels Midland with an estimated return of 10.5%. Becton Dickinson with an estimated return just over 12%. Franklin Resources with an estimated return of 14.76%. Clorox with an estimated return of 10.81%. Eversource Energy with an estimated return of nearly 14%. Genuine Parts Company with an estimated return of 10.5%. Hormel with an estimated return of 14.6%. McCormick with an estimated return of 10.25%. Nordson with an estimated return of 11.03%. NextEra Energy with an estimated return of 13.45%. Realty Income with an estimated return of 23%. Pepsi with an estimated return of 10.3%. PPG Industries with an estimated return of 11.4%. Stanley Black & Decker with an estimated return of 22%. Target with an estimated return of 16%. T. Rowe Price Group with an estimated return of about 12%. And West Pharma with an estimated return of 10.2%. If anyone is interested, I do share this spreadsheet with my Patreon community. This spreadsheet helps me track all of the Dividend Aristocrats and value all of them very quickly. All I have to do is keep this dividend history table updated with the most current forward dividend rate for each Dividend Aristocrat. And then I can run a macro that will refresh this analysis at any point in time. The macro will crunch a dividend yield theory analysis for all of these aristocrats one after one. It takes about 2 minutes to run through all of them. And if I simply want to take a closer look at any of these aristocrats, I can jump down to the bottom of this page, type in the Dividend Aristocrats ticker symbol in this cell here, and the charts and tables below will update. Here I have the dividend yield theory valuation for the last 7 years, with the green line being the fair price, the blue line being a 15% discount, and the red line being a 15% premium, while the black line shows the actual price for the stock over the last 7 years. Below that, I can see the actual dividend yield history for S&P Global, and the red line shows how the rolling 5-year average dividend yield has changed over time. I have the full dividend history since 2013, including the growth and the compounded growth. And up here, where I entered the ticker symbol, I can see the latest price available for S&P Global, the fair price based on dividend yield theory, the potential under or overvaluation, the forward dividend rate, the forward dividend yield, and the current trailing 5-year dividend yield. So again, if you're interested in checking this spreadsheet out, you can check out my Patreon using the link in the description below. If you want to see more content from me, I would also encourage you to check out my free newsletter, Quality at a Fair Price. There's a link in the description below. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, give this video a like and subscribe to my channel. Thank you for watching and see you next time.